Welcome to the Clemson Insider as we bring our Monday Blitz as we get ready for number 5 Clemson against number 12 Auburn, at least for today. I've got a good feeling those rankings are going to change when the polls come out sometime early tomorrow morning. But Gavin, obviously the day kind of was all about Auburn's offense, and we saw a bunch of defensive guys come through: Kendall Joseph, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, and it was all about Auburn's defense, Ryan Carter. So it was all about Auburn's offense today. So tell me a little bit. You got the chance to listen to what Kendall Joseph had to say as he faces this Auburn offense that maybe is a little bit better this year because they got the new quarterback in Stidham who can throw the football, who can get the ball down the field and stretch the field vertically, something that Clemson didn't have to worry about last year. What did Kendall Joseph say about this Auburn offense?
Well, he said that he obviously recognizes that Stidham's a talent, that he's adjusted well to Auburn's new system, which he said is a lot different than what he ran at Baylor when he was there. So he just said they're a solid, well-rounded unit. He's looking forward to playing it. What really stood out to me from what Kendall said is that Clemson these two teams have met 5 times in the last 8 years, but this is not a rivalry game in Kendall Joseph's opinion, which kind of to me tells me that he's not really getting caught up in all the hype. He's not worried about what the rivalry aspect of this. He's just focused on Clemson. They're just focused on themselves ahead of this game, and that was a encouraging thing to hear from Kendall today.
Last year, Auburn ran for only 85 yards. They really couldn't get anything. And, I spoke with Dexter Lawrence and asked him several questions about what's the difference in them. And, and he said one thing was they just got a little more confident as the year went on last year. Clemson held them, the only team to hold them to under 100 yards rushing all year. And Auburn went on to lead the SEC in rushing yards last year. And they got 2 fine backs this year coming back that probably are as good as anybody in the country. Dexter Lawrence talked about how they're going to have to be disciplined. They're going to have to stay within their assignments. They can't be trying to sneak in the backfield with their eyes and see what's going on. And then, also talked to Christian Wilkins about it, and both of them said Jared Stidham, the thing that surprised them when looking at the film, the Georgia Southern game the other day, was how fast he is. A whole lot more mobile than what you would think, because you think he's a drop-back quarterback and all this, but they're like, no, they're going to have to pay attention to their reads because Auburn's still going to run that zone read offense just like Clemson does. It's the same kind of style. I think this is a little preview what Clemson fans can look for maybe in the next couple of years when Trevor Lawrence becomes the quarterback at Clemson, because the way I look at it, I see Stidham and Trevor Lawrence, at least from a style standpoint, as the same 2 quarterbacks. What do you think you're going to see out of this Auburn offense this week, and how different they are than what we saw last week when they were running the wing T last year?
Yeah, it's going to be, like you said, I think he's got similar traits to Trevor Lawrence in that he can run around, he can make throws on the run. He's an accurate quarterback. He's a gunslinger, and I think they're going to play to that strength against Clemson. I think they're going to come out in attack mode, and we can expect them to be full throttle and just trying to take it to Clemson's defense, which is easier said than done. But that's what I expect. I expect them to come out and try to play fast and just put it in his hands and let their best player on offense make plays for him this week.
And, of course, we also got to speak today with Tony Elliott and quarterback Kelly Bryant. On the flip side of it, Auburn's pretty darn good on defense, too. And last week held Georgia Southern to 78 yards total offense for the entire game. As impressive as Clemson was against Kent State, Auburn's defense was every bit or more impressive against Georgia Southern. Now, granted, Clemson's offense is going to be a little more challenging for them as well, but this Auburn defense last year held Clemson to 399 total yards, held Clemson to 19 points. They were the lowest totals for the entire season for Clemson. I asked Tony Elliott today, what's different about them? Why was it they gave you more trouble than anybody else? And, of course, he admitted some of it was Clemson. And they had 7 drop passes in that game, dropped 2 touchdown passes. So some of it was on themselves. However, he said that Auburn, though, is so deep on the defensive line, and he says he doesn't expect, even though they lost 2 very good defensive linemen and defensive end and a defensive tackle, in Adams and Lawson, he says that they're still very good up front. And he says that's because they're so deep. And he said actually they're the deepest defensive line they have faced the last 2 years. That's including Alabama. So that's saying a lot to me about, he's saying that they're deeper than Florida State's, which is a very talented defensive line in its own right. So that says a lot to me about how good this Auburn defensive line is, and they bring back all 3 linebackers as well, who really get after the football. Auburn last year ranked 7th in the country in scoring defense. So, it's going to be definitely a big challenge, but I think, on the flip side of it, Auburn hasn't really seen a Kelly Bryant either. Clemson was a totally different offense last year with Deshaun Watson than what they're going to be with Kelly Bryant. I think we all know that. Clemson's going to be a little more run-oriented with his athleticism and stuff. We saw how different he is running in the open field the other day than Deshaun was. So, Gavin, tell me what Bryant said and his thoughts as he gets ready for this game.
Well, he's not shying away from the fact that what Kent State brought to the table last week defensively is nothing near what he's going to see against Auburn this week, and he's facing that. He knows that the spotlight's going to be on him in the offense and the team as a whole on Saturday against Auburn. He knows Death Valley under the lights is just going to be a completely different environment than what he saw on Saturday in his first career start, and he's approaching that with the mindset that he knows he's going to have to be poised on Saturday. He knows he's going to have to be a leader of the offense, handle the emotions of the game, keep his emotions in check, not get too high, not get too low. And what he said has helped him approach the game that way and know that he's going to have to do that on Saturday is just watching Watson and just a number of big games over the last 2 seasons. He was on the sideline seeing how just Watson handled everything in stride. I mean, a good play, bad play. Watson brushed it off. He moved on to the next play, good or bad, and he just kept the focus on, as Clemson talks about all the time, on what's in front of him and not what's behind. And that Watson really demonstrated that throughout his time at Clemson in big games. And Kelly Bryant has noticed that, and he's trying to instill that into his game and be ready on Saturday to go out there and just play poised and be a calm leader of the offense and just handle the emotions of the game. And he knows he's going to have to do that, and he seems like he's going to be ready to do that on Saturday.
Christian Wilkins said that Kelly Bryant is got all the confidence in the world. They got all the confidence in the world in him, and that they think he's going to be fine and that he'll handle that atmosphere every bit as good as the guy before him did. We're going to find out, that's for sure, because the Tigers are going to have 83,000 people here. It's going to be ESPN primetime, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be loud. Should be a great atmosphere, but we got a whole lot more coming this week with Tuesday as we get ready for Dabo Swinney and his press conference, and a whole lot more stuff coming your way. So keep it tuned into TCI for the rest of the week for all the latest coverage.